Really? Do I have to? Do I need to recall this particular exhibit of Marie's? It's a nice memory for her, obviously, but for me it's pretty bitter, even though I can't explain why exactly. A lot of memories came back to me that night. I would stand in the middle of the gallery with my eyes closed, and they'd crop up as if they were connected in some way. Come to think of it, there may be something to unearth in my own personal exhibit. We'll see. Let me show you around. You know this tableau, my little fawn? It's been gathering dust in the back of my personal collection. I haven't displayed it in ages. Here, the artist is depicting her first day at the beach with her daughter. Do you remember? The weather was so nice that day. We had eaten ice cream under the big umbrella. Then you pulled out your little tongue, your head got close to my arm, and I felt something cold and wet above my elbow. "You taste salty," you said. You started worshipping the sand as soon as we got there. You were delighted. We were already imagining you as a teenager with like 7,933 vials of sand everywhere and a subscription to Sand Fans, the Arenophile Review. Hey, if it was between that or weed, we weren't sure which would be worse. You came up to me with a huge seashell. I never understood where you found it. You handed it to me with great pomp and told me I had to write a movie about it. I complained, I don't know his life. I have no idea what he's thinking about, if he's sad or... And then you asked me, "So, about what is it that you write movies then?" And I was speechless for a moment, but... Suddenly, I felt it welling up in my heart and my stomach. Happiness. And then, that's it. That's what I wanted to write about. I'd totally forgotten this, but at one point in my life, I wanted to write about happiness. Since the dawn of time, people have needed rituals to mark the big life events. Here, the artist is depicting her final farewell to her daughter. At least that's what she thought at the time. Neither Alex nor I could picture you in a tiny coffin. We really preferred that you remained with us, like fine sand in a pretty vase. But in the end, even that was too heavy. I kept thinking about it. One day, on a whim, I made the call. I didn't tell your father. I didn't feel like explaining. I just called Diane, and I told her to meet me over there, by the sea. And she didn't ask any questions, nothing. She just said, "I'll be there." I was crying when we arrived at the cliff overlooking the beach. Diane gently took out the urn from my hands, opened it towards the sea, and she said, "Donnie was a good bowler and a good man. He was a man who loved the outdoors and bowling." I burst out laughing and snot splurted out of my nose all over my fucking chin. And Dan was laughing too, and 1,000 particles of you flew out around us, all up in my hair. I thought it would be freeing to see you leave like this, disappear. That was the goal of this ceremony. But now I know that it didn't work. It didn't make me feel free. Rather, it made me feel the emptiness. Here, the artist is depicting herself on the bus, back from the shore. Outside, the setting sun represents something or other. Is it the end of something? Or the beginning? I was holding your urn against me the whole way back. It was empty, but it felt heavier than ever before. I looked outside the window, and this poem came to my mind. It's Lamartine. I had to learn it by heart in high school. Setting or just rising in a sky clear or gray, what good is the sun? I disregard the day. Were I to track the whole long course of his travel, my eyes would just witness all the void and gravel. I desire nothing that he could ever disperse. I don't demand a thing from the great universe. I was all by my lonesome on the bus back, with just a few specks of you. That's what I felt when I came back from the cliff. The poem, the empty bus, the urn on my knees. A void. Back then, I thought it was a good thing. I said to myself, maybe I can start writing now that this is done. And then, nothing. I remember almost every word of the pretentious card next to Marie's painting. The auto-portrait series is undoubtedly Marie de Mange's most ambitious work to date. She arranges herself in a discomfiting position, ripe with malaise and also a certain eroticism. Self-portrait number 8 is the final entry in the series, and one of the most powerful paintings of the 21st century. I never could bring it up with Marie. But I'm sure that these paintings were actually inspired by the accident. The ground she's lying on. I can almost guarantee you it's pavement. And her discombobulated body as if her bones were broken. No one knows that except me. I believe she painted you instead of her. Why on earth would she make such a twisted thing, do you think? Apparently the critics and the public loved it. That was the series from which everything started for Marie. I must say that there was something vibrant in these paintings. A sweet and vulnerable mystery in her eyes. It made me sick. I couldn't believe how many paintings Marie had done since you died. Meanwhile, I couldn't write for my life. It made no sense anymore. When I left Alex, I did get started on something, as if separating from him had inspired me. But after a few months, nothing I had written was worth reading. Those paintings made me so angry. I kept thinking this. Marie is feeding off of my bereavement. Through her art, she managed to turn what happened into something else. Something beautiful. I, on the other hand, had nowhere left to go in that moment. I couldn't do it anymore. My bag of happiness was ripped to shreds. Thank you for visiting this exhibit with me, my little fawn. What did you learn? When I see all of this again, I wonder what made me think that making you disappear would take the pain away. Attempting to erase every bit of you meant locking me out of this incredible little room inside my heart. The place that gave me life. The place that inspired me. Now I know that I need to keep that space for you within myself, so that I can write and I can live. You're still with me.
You really think that what, disappeared?
No, of course not, my little fawn. But when you died, I found myself in an impossible situation. I was thinking about you all the time. I kept telling myself it was my fault you weren't here anymore. It's awful to love someone that much, you know?
On the contrary, I think it's beautiful.
Sure, it's beautiful and awful. So, I looked for a solution.
How?
I did what I always do. I watched movies.
Like what?
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. It's about a couple who are separating.
Mom.
I know. I just wasn't in the mood for rom-coms at the time. If I had been, I wouldn't have gone for something starring Jim Carrey. Anyway, in the movie, there's a machine that erases people's painful memories. Jim Carrey is heartbroken, so he uses that machine because that's the only way he can go on living. That's what I tried to do with you. To get you out of my mind.
Except you didn't have a machine.
No. I had medication, I had a job, and I even did a farewell ceremony. I thought that if I could get you out of my head, I might be able to feel better.
Did it work?
Of course not. Why should it? That wasn't the right way to handle things. Now I know how lucky I am. To be able to think about you every day. Even though it's hard sometimes. I think about your laugh, the one you made when your dad would attack you with a toy knight. I think about your little doodles. You came back from kindergarten every day with fistfuls of them. We filled up all the walls with them. So, we ended up having to sneak some into the garbage.
I knew it!
But I promise I always looked carefully at them before. I think about the way you would sound complicated words. Escarpment. Onomatopoeia. Cacophony. They were in stories we'd read to you. You loved to parrot them back. I think about all of it, little dear. And it's a reminder that you are here with me. I carry that with me into every decision I have to make. And I won't let it go for the world. It's a bit silly, isn't it?
What is?
All of this. Me talking to you right now. Also, just look at this sky. You usually only get these kinds of sunsets in Hollywood movies. Marie is on death's door, and I'm out here chatting with my daughter's ghost?
I told you I'm not a ghost. And I love chatting with you, just getting to know you better.
It's a little late for that, don't you think?
It's never too late for a good story. That's what you always said.
I say a lot of stupid stuff.
And if you'd written down half the ones you taught me at bedtime, you'd be rich. Do you remember the one with the horse tribe that does karate?
Ninja Palooza?
Yeah, it was so good. And the duck who kept solving crimes around the farm while drunk.
Inspector Drunkass. No one is going to publish that.
That's too bad. It would be a lot better than Marie's books of Russian folktales.
Ah, those books were a snooze fest.
Right?
Then why did you hug her so hard every time she bought you a new set?
Because you can be a child and still know how to be diplomatic. Where are you up to with your script?
I haven't looked at it in ages.
Is your job for Grandma taking too much time?
Getting myself out of bed is taking too much time.
Oh, come on. Stop it. The whole depressive thing doesn't suit you.
And, to be honest, I'm not too fond of the whole petulant tween thing. I liked it better when you were 4 years old.
What are you going to do? Give me a spanking?
No, I suppose you're too old for that. I'm so happy to see you.
So am I. And I think you're very pretty.
Oh, thank you, little phone. I only sleep about 5 hours a night. My hair is so dirty that it won't budge even if I untie it, and I'm smoking more than the Amazon rainforest under Bolsonaro.
I've noticed. That's very bad, by the way. That stuff kills, Mom.
Ah, typical me. My imaginary 9-year-old daughter swings by to give me an earful.
I did tell you that you were pretty first.
I'm sorry, Astrid.
Sorry for what?
You know.
I have no idea. I don't read minds anymore. My mom raised me better than that.
That's cute, little fawn. I'm so sorry about... That wasn't a joke.
Sorry, I'm sorry. It's just... Do you remember what happened?
No. I mean, I remember that we were going to Mina's birthday party. I was driving, but after that, it's all a blur.
See? That's why I was laughing. You totally forgot how it happened. For all you know, we were struck by a meteor through the windshield or something. So I ask again. Why are you sorry?
Stop it. I know what you're trying to do, but whatever happened, it was me, Astrid. It was my fault.
All right. You're not ready to talk. You need more time to think.
Astrid. Come back. Needs more time to think. What did she mean by that? What am I even talking about? I'm mulling over my dead daughter's imaginary advice. I'm going off the deep end here. I know. That's what I need to focus on. I think it's coming back. Yes, it is. Just try a little harder, Junon. I need to dig deeper. What does it mean to be a mother? Is it being 100% focused on your child? Is it always knowing what to do? Never having any doubt? Is it sacrificing your ambitions? If you do all that, are you automatically a good mom? And what if you don't manage it? Does that make you a bad mom? I've asked myself all of these questions a lot. Do you want to try and find an answer together? Good mom? Bad mom? Maybe I should start with telling you the fun moments. That was the year before you were born. Alex had been on my ass to get in touch with the friend of a cousin of one of his friends who was a producer. Anyway, I was supposed to schedule a meeting with him during the next Cannes festival. I wasn't planning on going to Cannes at all. But I did what I was told. I managed to slip into a party where I eventually met the guy, and it worked out. Yeah. We spent the night smoking cigs, sounding off about the worst turkeys from the festival. And a few weeks later, I was writing a spec for a series. It kind of came out of nowhere. I was feeling gunky and I was a bit late, so I decided to take a test without putting too much stock into it. And here is the picture I sent to your dad. I remember that the stick wasn't even dry yet. Can you imagine the surprise? I'll admit that back then, I didn't know whether I would be pregnant one day. Your dad and I hadn't really planned it this way. We'd been talking for a while about having a kid one day, but that was only a plan. In the meantime, we were being careful, but we obviously hadn't met you yet. Of course, a mere condom wasn't going to stop you. As soon as I saw the test, my head exploded, my little fawn. I was happy. Just happy. Nothing else. It was an incredible feeling. I was so fired up by your birth. I felt like I was high on drugs. I was taking care of you, working, seeing friends. I was living. Alex and I even became involved in politics. We were trading weekends to attend climate marches. I was ready to fight to make a change in the world. Thus, within the span of a year, I delivered 2 babies. Astrid, in January, just over 8 pounds, hungry as a wolf, and a mug to die for. And then, my first professional screenplay in August. 47 pages. A veritable leap forward in my career. All of a sudden, things just fell into place. I was a screenwriter. I was getting paid for writing. Sure, it was a crappy series, but that third paid very well. I was so proud of everything that was happening to me. And at the same time, I lost sleep over it for weeks. Because there were some dark thoughts too. The ones your light could not dispel. You didn't really get the chance to witness it, but this is a funny time we're living in. Imagine having an incredible daughter and a job you've wanted forever, and then you get glued to a screen, and it bums you out. I would see people on social media, people I would never even have heard of in real life. And they were great parents, great artists, working on great stuff, having great success. Everybody seemed way ahead of me. And it felt like it was my fault for being so behind. How dared I aspire to being happy? A couple of months before you were born, Marie showed up with a cardboard box under her arm. She had found the mobile. When I was preparing for your arrival, I hung it above your crib. After you were born, I would spend hours watching it turn every time you breathed. It was always moving, finding its balance. Wonderful. Alive. Just like you, and also so fragile. Way too delicate. A mere gust of wind could have shattered it to a million pieces. Just like you. I found it adorable that Marie came to bring us this mobile. And yet, I was scared when I learned I was pregnant. I was scared at the mere idea of telling her. It was beyond me. I panicked. So I decided to hide you for as long as I could. Obviously, she eventually noticed that I was pregnant. And her reaction was unexpected. She was jumping for joy. Why had I been so scared? It seemed so silly. "58 tons per year. A kid equals 58 tons of carbon dioxide per year. That's the same as 58 plane trips to New York and back, or burning 50 tons of coal. Having a baby in this world, as everything was collapsing around us, That was a stupid idea. I know breastfeeding while on a cell phone isn't exactly what you picture from a perfect mother. Well, that only happened once, or maybe twice, or a bunch of times, actually. I loved connecting with you, you know? It was a magnetic force. Time disappeared when I looked into your eyes, but sometimes I was overwhelmed by everything else. The earth that keeps on spinning, the anxiety of not doing enough, projects at a standstill while others are going full speed, and then the fear that it would all stop. That's always a little bit there. But I think I was stronger than that in the end. Oh, wow. I just remembered something that happened years ago. I guess I was 16 or 17 years old. I was in my room, staring at this mobile instead of doing my homework. Marie was in the next room, the living room, giving an interview. It was a first. I overheard her talking to the journalist with a soft voice. She was obviously trying to win her over. It was funny at first. She was giving all these juicy details about the crazy nights of a female artist in the 80s. And then she said she got pregnant after one of those nights. And at that time, she seriously thought about giving up the child. And suddenly, I understood that that child, the one she didn't want, that mistake, that was me. To me, being a mom was one of the greatest joys in my life. I wanted to feel you growing inside of me and then meet you and live all that, the whole experience. And writing was the same. I really wanted to do it, and then I actually did. I wanted these things. I bore them and I cherished them. But I struggled with them too, because I was scared. I had doubts, but really most of all I had this lingering feeling that maybe I shouldn't have been there. And when I lost you, and writing had lost its meaning, that feeling came back with a vengeance. This feeling, this knowledge that whatever I do, it is not enough.
Why are you sorry?
It's hard to be a good parent when you're a damaged adult. You become responsible for a life. That requires courage, confidence, and a lot of nerve. And it's really easy to get it wrong.
What does that mean?
How can I explain? For the first few months of your life, you were like an extension of me. You couldn't talk, you couldn't walk, you could barely see, actually. And I was feeding you out of my own body.
Yuck.
Yeah, yuck! Having your life in my hands. That funny feeling. That's what being a mom was all about to me. And then one day, you got sick. It just looked like a cold at first. Alex would wash your nose twice a day with saline. Pulling neon yellow snot tentacles out of your nose amused him no end. I couldn't do it. Then, things got worse. One Friday night, I was alone with you. You started having difficulty breathing. You were in the living room, stacking wooden cubes, and I just kept staring at your chest. You were struggling to get enough air into your lungs. I tried copying your breathing, and I got woozy. It set my head spinning.
So, what did you do?
I grabbed my phone and called our doctor. I told him I didn't care what time it was, that I needed to come at once. I felt really guilty that it'd taken me that long. I hadn't wanted to disturb him. I was so scared that you were going to die. And when I got to the doctor's office, I was a mess. The doctor asked me what was wrong with you, and I said that you were having difficulty breathing, and he was so calm. He made me want to smash his teeth in. He asked me to put you down on the examination table and take your shirt off so he could listen to your breathing. And when he got close to you with his stethoscope...
What happened?
You peed on him.
Excuse me?
This beautiful golden stream. A perfect arc from your hoo-ha to his coat.
Awkward.
Well, you didn't mind at the time. You were chirping and staring at him. And he said, well, this little girl looks perfectly healthy. And I started crying.
Well, yeah, you must have been relieved.
I thought so at the time. But it was more than that. I can see it now. The most important part of being a parent, and also the hardest lesson to learn. You need to trust your children.
Trust them to pee on doctors?
Trust them to live. You weren't there so I could feel like a good mother. You were there to live your life, to become yourself. Seems obvious, doesn't it? But I didn't see it. So I spent a lot of my time feeling guilty. Telling myself that I didn't deserve you.
What? I don't believe it. I was your biggest fan, you know?
Really?
Of course. You're relentless. You even found the time to work on your scripts. You were working your ass off to make your stories amazing while you were busy taking care of me. How did you manage to be strong like that?
I mean, your father was there as well.
I know! Imagine! 2 kids at home!
Oh, come on.
Mom, you know I love Dad with all my heart. But in my view, he probably regards mental fortitude as a kind of superpower.
Okay. It was really hard. I almost gave up so many times. My career wasn't going where I wanted, certainly not as fast as I wanted, but I held on. You gave me so much energy.
I presume I took a lot too.
Of course, sweetie. I often wish you had an off switch, especially when I saw my face in the mirror the next morning. But that was just a detail. Every morning was magical. I'd grab you in my arms. You'd smile back. You trusted me. I had no more doubt, no more questions. I knew exactly who I was. No one had ever looked at me that way. What an incredible gift.
It's just a shame you spent your best years writing for soap opera.
Wow, you do a great Marie impression. I'm better now, you know? It still hurts like hell. But I get it. I can survive this. On a good day, I can even convince myself that it could be worse. You might have been a goth teenager.
What's a goth?
Well, I could show you a couple pictures of 14-year-old me. Unfortunately, I think they all got destroyed in a fire or something. What a shame. You've taught me all of this. You helped me open doors inside myself. That's what allowed me to grow. Of course, I'll go on without you. I have to. But it's really, really sad.
How does the movie end?
What movie?
The Eternal Sunshine of... whatever.
No. Well, Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet meet again. And since they don't remember each other, they fall in love again. But then they find old recordings of them saying horrible things about each other.
And? Do they split up again?
No. They decide to experience their relationships again because they want to recapture the good memories. even though they know that it's going to hurt them. I loved that ending.
I know what you mean. I understand why you're sad, Mom. But you can't be sad forever. It doesn't help you, and it doesn't help me. Life's short enough as it is. Why waste any more time?
Do you think it's that easy? That I can just press a button and pow?
You can be so egotistical sometimes.
Excuse me?
Where do I fit into all this?
But I was just...
So what? I'm going to be a bad memory for the rest of your life? A distressing thought inside your head? Do you even realize what that means? I'm scared.
What are you scared of, my little phone?
I'm scared that I'll disappear.
But you're already dead.
That's not the point. I'm talking about disappearing from here. This is the only place where I still exist. Just here. But I don't want to be this rusty nail that's killing you by degrees. You do realize that's not me at all? You do know that if you keep at this, I'm not going to exist anywhere. Anymore. You don't have to do this to me, Mom. You don't have to do this to yourself. How much longer do I have to make you miserable?
I know you don't deserve that, my little dear. It's all my fault.
Stop it, Mom. Just stop. You're stuck on repeat. I know that this can be easy to process. And I know that the truth hurts. But right here, right now, you're gonna have to remember. Really.
I'm not sure. What do you mean? What are you talking about? Astrid? Astrid! She's right.